breakthroughs in science and technology, innovations in business and beyond. Join us as we educate, enlighten, and entertain. This is Advancements. Coming up on Advancements, learn how developments in data and technology are working together to optimize renewable power. Hit the slopes to discover the latest breakthroughs in sustainable snowmaking. Find out how groundbreaking farming practices and techniques are pushing the industry forward. And learn why innovations in high-tech, high-precision machinery are improving manufacturing and design. This and more, all ahead in the next half hour.
Welcome, I'm Ted Danson. From industry leaders on the cutting edge of business management to the key players responsible for reducing environmental impacts, today's episode is geared to keep you up to date and informed on the latest topics and current trends.
With the potential to power 40% of the nation's electricity by 2035, solar power remains the most affordable and fastest growing source of clean energy today.
Solar is one of the most environmentally friendly ways to generate power. The solar material inside is made of silicon, the same thing as computers and digital cameras. The solar panels have dropped in cost as production has grown, and now people understand that not only is it a way to protect the environment, further energy independence and energy security, it's a way to save a tremendous amount of money on your home or your business.
Playing a significant role in decarbonizing the nation's power grid, solar is projected to employ as many as 1.5 million people and is estimated to become the predominant source of electricity.
Solar plays a huge role in decarbonizing the grid. Virtually all of the carbon generated in power generation is associated with burning fossil fuels. If you look at a gas plant or a coal plant, they're burning enormous amounts of fossil fuel over their life. Coal generates a tremendous amount of carbon dioxide over its life, as does gas. Solar reduces the amount of carbon dioxide emitted, even if you count all the energy to make the solar panel, by a factor of 25 times over its life.
From storage to microgrids to forecasting, deploying tools to expand transmission of solar energy will also play an important role in maintaining the reliability and performance of a renewable dominant grid.
As with any industry, solar faces significant competition barriers based on its hypergrowth and the reality that there are a lot of market participants trying to get into this industry. Externally, you have the influence of sovereign entities and companies that operate existing assets. You've got companies that have built up infrastructure over hundreds of years that serve that energy resource.
Deployment tools are essential in the future of the grid and in the expansion of solar energy on the grid. The objective that we're shooting for is 24/7 carbon-free energy. The way to get that is to have more solar connected to the grid. Advanced computer tools with artificial intelligence and machine learning are enabling us to increase the concentration of those solar power plants on the grid. That, coupled with batteries, is enabling us to have a much smarter, much more effective grid in matching up the generation and the demand that customers have.
Now, developments in proprietary technology and value-added performance analytics are helping asset owners maximize energy generation from solar.
NovaSource Power Services is the world's leading operations and maintenance service provider. On a daily basis, we oversee and deliver more sustainable solar power to the grid than any company in the world. Right now, we're in the process of decarbonizing on a global basis, and solar is right in the middle of making that happen. Ultimately, we believe our responsibility is to do that in a way that's both sustainable and environmentally responsible. We do that in a way that captures every photon that gets delivered from the sun, converting that into a clean electron and delivering that in a safe, reliable, and high-quality manner that puts the industry at the forefront of energy generation.
NovaSource uses real-time operations capabilities and predictive analytics to deliver clean energy to homes and businesses throughout the world.
Our advanced capabilities in analytics, our safety, performance, and our commitment to quality enable customers have their plants operated at a higher availability, which means more of the photons are converted into sellable electrons through the work that we do. So by having higher availability plants, customers are able to have a better return on investment, but it also gets more carbon-free energy onto the grid. With that scale, we're able to bring different tools and capabilities, particularly in the analytical areas, which enable us to do a much better job in diagnosing what's going on with power plants and when they have issues, and enabling us to get power plants to operate at maybe a higher output than customers were expecting. Lessening the impacts of climate change through the deployment of renewable energy requires the renewable power plants that get connected to the grid operate safely, reliably, and effectively.
In addition, the system leverages its operations center to support the global adoption of solar generation and battery storage, and to create a positive impact on climate change and power.
In order to take what is an intermittent resource, solar, and make it 24/7, you need to be able to store and offset from the time of generation to better match up with the demand that customers have for when demand peaks. Solar typically peaks during the midday when sun is at its highest point, but when the demand is going to be highest is going to be when people are going home, and there's going to be an inrush of people turning on appliances and lights and things of that nature. Each one of those solar panels is like it's its own generator. And so with so many small generators, the plant itself is inherently more robust than a central station conventional fossil fuel power plant is.
Through quality technology and O&M practices, solar systems have the ability to outlast other technologies in the industry.
Solar is the fastest growing and actually largest form of new power being added to the grid in the United States and many places overseas. Solar will be the largest form of energy in the world.
It's a much lower cost structure than other technologies that are in the market. It has an incredibly high uptime. It is both safe and reliable, and also has the secondary benefit of being a sustainable, clean technology. There's no doubt that other technologies are needed to help bridge us through this transition period for the industry, but solar remains the preferred option and most sustainable and viable, scalable option for the industry.
Coming up next, learn about the latest trends in conservation and how technology is helping safeguard our resources.
Bringing respite to the most unforgiving season of the year, the ski and snowboard resorts market is estimated to reach $3.1 billion this year in the U.S. alone.
Well, skiers traditionally provide a getaway to families and basically everybody, and especially this past couple years with the coronavirus, a lot of families went to the ski resorts and the ski business because it's mostly outside, so they could still recreate and still feel comfortable with their families and their friends.
Relying heavily on complex and energy-intensive infrastructure, ski resorts have become synonymous with being environmentally harmful, both in terms of water usage and the impact they have on climate change.
A ski area will use energy to spin the lifts, power the lodge, and to make snow. But by far, most of the energy goes into making snow. Ski areas will use energy from the local utility. On average, 61% of the energy used to make snow uses fossil fuels.
As a result of global climate change, most ski areas are experiencing shorter winters with more frequent thawing periods, forcing ski areas to make artificial snow to maintain services and create sufficient coverage.
Last winter, it seemed like we hit some pretty big extremes. Extremely windy, huge cold spells, and then huge rainstorms. So we have to adjust for the weather conditions. Snowmaking is a fact of life. It's part of your operation. You can't do away with it. A lot of people will say to me, geez, with all that natural snow you got, you probably cut down on snowmaking, and that's not true. We typically have always made the same amount of snow because man-made snow is much more dense. It lasts a lot longer, it's a lot more durable. Natural snow packs down, it doesn't last as long.
Snowmaking requires large quantities of water to be taken from rivers or lakes that are often several miles away. This water must travel thousands of feet up a mountain before reaching its destination. making it easy to understand why water pumping represents more than 80% of the energy needed for snowmaking.
Traditional snowmaking system pushes compressed air and compressed water through nozzles. So the main ingredients are pressurized air and pressurized water. Right now, most ski areas pump the water from a great distance. Water is pretty darn heavy, and it takes a lot of energy to get it across the way and up the mountain. Saddleback ski area currently pumps at around 2,000 gallons a minute and is upgrading to 4,000 gallons a minute. A full tanker truck holds 12,000 gallons a minute. So at 4,000 gallons a minute, that's a tanker truck every 3 minutes driving from the lake up the mountain. We also recognized that there was a lot of water flowing down the mountain, and that was when we first asked the question, wait a minute, what if we grab the water high up on the mountain? How much energy would that save?
In recent years, snowmaking equipment manufacturers have invested in a variety of mechanisms to improve efficiency. However, little progress has been made in finding a way to reduce the energy required to pump water to supply the snow guns.
There is a ton of water that flows off the mountain, and the idea is to grab that water, not only to make the snow initially, but as a refreshing system for when they get rain events, like here in New England and down the spine of the Appalachians.
A snow pod is a device that collects water from a stream and sends it to a nearby snow gun where it is blasted onto the trails as snow. It can be controlled remotely, even in freezing conditions, even in places with no AC power. Operators can control the flow of the water in multiple locations from almost anywhere. By collecting the water up at the top of the hill, we avoid the need to pump it to that level.
The fully automated snowpod system dramatically reduces the energy required to make snow, virtually eliminating the associated carbon footprint.
The snowpod itself is a small culvert that can tell what the stream condition is, measure how much you're pulling from the stream, and allow you to operate, within regulatory limits. The systems we had now were really born of an era of very, cheap energy costs. And they've done a great job at making all the snow guns more efficient, but now it's a time to address the water efficiency. And really the only way to get efficiencies that we need out of the water is to capture the water as high out the mountain as you can. And we really believe that we can build a system that's far more energy efficient, but also can help the eastern states, especially along the splines and up into New England, a recovery from warming events in the face of climate change. Keep in mind that we're working on the energy and the efficiency side, not the power generation side. We're making a system more and more efficient. When you make a system more efficient, somewhere in the energy chain, you stop carbon from being put into the air.
Eliminating the energy used to pump water uphill could help ensure ski areas continue to play a vital role in the economic development and financial well-being of rural communities for years to come.
Right now, the rain flows off the mountain down to the lake and they pump it back up again. Some mountains probably lose $100,000 in water. They can't exactly pump that up there all at once, right? So they can only remake snow on 1 or 2 trails at a time.
Today, in the Northeast, a ski area will have to deal with about 5 rainstorms per season. During each of these events, a large portion of the snow cover will melt and flow down to rivers and lakes, from where it will be pumped right back up the mountain to make snow at great cost. Global warming will only make matters worse. By collecting the water from the mountain before it flows down to the lake, ski areas would recover faster from rain events, reduce operating expenses, and dramatically cut their carbon footprint.
Today, innovations in smart farming technologies are helping farmers and agribusinesses do more with less. Stay tuned.
Agriculture is responsible for feeding the growing world and for supporting the livelihoods of more than 1 billion people. As supply chain challenges persist and input costs continue to increase, farmers are becoming concerned with how to keep up with the ever-evolving industry.
Because of the nature of our business, where we are using a very large volume of inputs, we're generally operating on pretty thin margins. So when you take costs that are increasing as much as 30-40% year over year, those margins become much, much thinner. It demands perfection out of us, and in the back of our minds at all times, we know that no matter what we're doing with our crop, everything can be looking fantastic, but Mother Nature bats last. The challenge that we're facing this year, and that all farmers are facing really every year, how can we produce more with less inputs without sacrificing quality?
Responsible for 1/3 of global production, the United States is the leading producer of strawberries. with 90% coming from California alone.
Producing strawberries is actually a very intense process, and it begins here at the Strawberry Nursery. First, we begin in our tissue culture lab where we produce meristem plants. That process in and of itself takes about a year. After we establish those meristem plants, we move them to our outdoor foundation. Strawberry plants will throw off stolons, and at the tip of them is a daughter plant. That plant will produce a genetically identical plant to the mother plant. After we harvest those daughters and we've gone through the process of making sure that that plant is clean, we bring that plant material to our commercial fields and we plant those. And those daughters are what is going to produce our rootstock that is then harvested, packed in our trim sheds, and shipped off to our growers.
I think it's really important to recognize the amount of time and effort that is sacrificed here at the ranch. It's tough, backbreaking work. You know, you go out in your yard and you work for one day and you're exhausted. Our employees do that every single day for 9 months straight. And I think if people knew and understood just how many people are involved with getting that strawberry to the end user, they would appreciate a lot more.
As volatility continues throughout the industry, farmers and ranchers are in search of new ways to mitigate rising input costs and keep operations running.
So here at Cedar Point Nursery, some of the biggest technology we have used here at our farm is drip tape. And we couple it with our tunneling system. By allowing us to have that control, we can monitor the amount of water accurately. We also don't use as much pesticides. And by doing that too, we're allowing our agricultural runoff to decrease. When we use the drip tape, we also limit the amount of water that contacts the plants. We reduce the amount of disease that can develop. Compared to the traditional sprinkler irrigation method, we are conserving water and reducing that risk.
As new developments continue to move the industry forward, innovations in farming technology are helping to reduce large amounts of risk carried by nurseries and fruit producers.
Mike was our founder and our owner. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, but the moment you met Mike and saw him in his element, you could tell how passionate he was. He worked hard. He put his hands in the dirt along with everyone else, and he could do every job that we have at the farm.
Mike Fauner was a co-founder of Cedar Point Nursery and owner. He invented the tunnel and drip installation at the nursery level. People will keep on using this because it prevents several diseases or bacteria on the strawberry plants. Here at Cedar Point Nursery, we try to give our growers the best product that we can.
From implementing drip irrigation as a means to reduce disease and yield loss, to inventing the first fully vented microtunnel system, Cedar Point Nursery pioneered many of the practices used by nurseries today.
The coupling of the tunnels was huge here in the strawberry nursery business because south from our nursery, they get winds that are up to 40 miles an hour. It'll act like a knife and it'll cut right through the plants. And with a tunnel and drip and wire installations, we prevented that.
This year we're introducing a few sustainable or regenerative farming practices to our farm. We are going to be building a solar system on the ranch. Not only will that lower our utility bill, but we'll be carbon neutral in that aspect as well. We are reintroducing beneficial mites into our fields. They're predators and they prey on common strawberry pests. So by using this form of biocontrol, we can reduce, if not eliminate, the use of chemicals and pesticides in our field. Third sustainability effort that we're employing on the farm this year is after we harvest our strawberry plants, we come in and plant a grain or a wheat behind it so that instead of that ground being fallow, it has a living plant in it, which mimics a more natural ecosystem.
Farming on an average of 300 acres per year, the nursery produces about 75 million high-quality strawberry plants each year and supplies them to growers throughout California, Florida, Canada, and Mexico.
We first start with ensuring that we have clean plant material. This plant material is purchased from the University of California, where it's been vigorously tested. We have our tissue culture lab where we are able to produce our meristem plants and use those to plant our fields. We can ensure that we're producing a healthy plant that we can distribute to strawberry growers.
As a catalyst for change within the strawberry business, the nursery remains dedicated to creating innovative practices that will continue to deliver the highest quality plants possible.
Currently working on some research trials with UC Davis and University of Florida. Both of them are major strawberry breeding programs in the United States. We grow trial varieties that aren't commercially available here in our farm. Without our participation, the growth of the industry would be stunted. With the University of Florida, the goal of our research trial is to identify what is the optimum level of chill for each variety. There's very little data or research that supports it, so we aim to solve that. I believe the only way that our industry can move forward is if we continue to advance and innovate. And CPN has been responsible in the past for several landmark contributions to the strawberry industry. In my opinion, the sky's the limit.
Coming up next, watch as we explore some of the latest innovations helping to redefine the manufacturing sector.
At present, modern supply chains are undergoing unprecedented disruptions. From manufacturing to the distribution of goods, several industries across the globe are feeling the impact of these challenges.
Key issues in the manufacturing industry include rises in raw material costs, raw material shortages, and supply chain disruption. There has been an impact on the manufacturing industry. The pandemic has impacted 98% of global supply chains. So we've seen this shift of manufacturing companies from cost to reliability. Reshoring is also occurring due to addressing any issues with supply chain disruption stemming from political instability, natural disasters, and the pandemic. And we've seen different manufacturing industries really be active in reshoring, which includes electrical supplies and equipment. Policies are being implemented in order to promote Made in the USA products, which we've seen in the recent executive order promoting federal procurement done by US suppliers. Distribution is key, with the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach shipping over 5.4 million containers since last year.
As the world faces major increases in raw materials prices, as well as shortages of some raw materials, electronic components are becoming subject to longer lead times.
Manufacturing companies cite that raw materials cost increases are one of their major challenges, since they have to increase their prices to absorb costs. Raw material shortages do have an impact on lead times in the manufacturing industry. We've seen that raw material shortages lead to production delays, and then once production is completed are met with shipping delays stemming from transportation issues such as port congestion and driver shortages.
Playing a major role throughout many sectors, manufacturing is essential to the visual display industry, which helps brands around the world to assess their identity and make a first impression.
Manufacturing is the core of signage. Signage is essentially representing your brand and trying to capture an audience. Now, different clients have different needs. Some are perfectly fine purchasing an off-the-shelf, standard size sign, but for brands that have a lot of pride in their uniqueness and what they're trying to present, they typically like to stand aside and be different. A manufacturing facility that does signage in the US has the ability to really partner with clients to see what they're envisioning when they talk about their brand, and go from concept all the way to prototyping and designing and actually manufacturing what they need. The signage industry is no different than any other industry when it comes to adapting new technology. Whether you're talking healthcare, you're talking retail, or food and beverage, most people are switching from just having a printout to having digital and interactive signage that captures the audience. So with the innovations that you're seeing with smart technology, with artificial intelligence, you get to actually identify your client base as they come close to your brand and have a message that's very much tailored to their needs.
As technology and innovation open the possibilities for signage, improvements in automation and machinery are enabling high-quality, next-generation signage across a wide range of industries.
Software innovations such as flow simulations and FEA analysis allows us to simulate real-world environments so we can design for specific locations and customers. 3D printing capabilities allow us to prototype quickly and then convey design concepts to the customer more realistically. Many of our customers today are looking for something a bit more than standard signage that grabs customers' attention and enhances the experience.
Each solution is designed and precisely calibrated to showcase graphics in the most flattering, even tones. Each light box is extruded from aluminum to last for years.
By designing and fabricating in-house, it helps bring customers' concepts to life It creates a collaborative environment where new ideas can be shared and communication is streamlined.
DSA sources almost all of its materials from local U.S. vendors, searching out and collaborating with small, local, minority-owned businesses whenever possible.
During global supply chain crisis, we partnered with our supplier to convert all those scrap aluminum into usable extrusion. All our customers are keen on green initiatives and they appreciate our efforts to deliver sustainable products. Scrap and residual material always had value. DSA does a very good job of segregating the metal and alloy, allowing it to be remelted to its highest grade possible. Those material actually converted into products which limits the use of virgin material mined from earth. The cost of remelting and reusing and converting them into a new product is far more cost efficient, time efficient, and benefits the nature rather than mining new material and processing.
This approach to sustainable manufacturing can help to deliver better products with better lead times while increasing sustainability and ensuring long-term stability.
Being a U.S. manufacturer supporting U.S.-based clients, it gives us an upper hand. When you have the flexibility of building, shaping, engineering, designing, all of that in-house, having that capability allows us to just jump in and take care of it. The quality of service they receive and the speed of that service is very critical. In the past decade or so, the transition started to go from static to digital. And as we go forward with artificial intelligence getting embedded into everything in our life, signage is no different. Currently, you can have a digital kiosk that has a camera embedded in it, determine your age group, your gender, and immediately show you product that might be attractive to your demographic. That's the difference that we see just in over 2 decades, and it's going to continue evolving.
The world around us is a fascinating and complex place. We're glad you could join us to explore some of the accomplishments helping to keep us on the forefront of innovation. I'm Ted Danson. See you next time.
For more information, visit advancementstv.com.